I know from people who've contacted me through various means and put things on social media, said things to people I know, that the audience at Wembley, a very large number of people anyway, went through some really profound transformations during the day. And I can completely understand it because of what I experienced. And it took my mind back to just a few months coming up 25 years ago, March 1990, when I walked into a psychic's house in southern England, a lady called Betty Shine, and was told I was going to go out on a world stage and reveal great secrets and all the things that actually have unfolded since. But in terms of today's subject, what I was told through her, and indeed through other psychics that I met in that period, when I was bumping into psychics all the time, when this kind of change in my life first started. And there was a common theme, there were a number of common themes, but in terms of today's subject, there was this one. That there was an energetic change coming, like a frequency change, like a vibrational change, that was going to awaken humanity from its slumber, from its coma, from its sleep. And people were going to awaken to their true nature, infinite awareness, having an experience. They were going to wake up to what was really happening in the world, as opposed to what they'd been programmed to believe was happening all their lives. And that this energetic change was going to be like an alarm clock, waking people up to see what they hadn't seen before on multiple levels of being and in multiple ways. And I dubbed this energy the truth vibrations all those years ago. It's why my first book, after I went through my own kind of mind-blowing awakening, was called The Truth Vibrations. And I use that term because one of the other effects that I was told about, that this energetic change would bring about, the truth vibration change, was that all that had been hidden would be brought to the surface. And that was not just, like I've just described, people awakening to reality and self and the world, but actually massive secrets that have been kept from us would be brought to the surface. It was almost like the energetic change were going to bring this hidden stuff to the surface. And there's nothing that those who wish to keep the secrets secret could do about it, because this energetic change is beyond anything that they can deal with. And of course, at that time, 1990, there was no evidence for that whatsoever. There was no evidence of any awakening. There was no evidence of any of what I've just said. But as I've gone on through the years, it's become more and more evident that this energetic transformation is real. It was said that the most open would be affected by this change first, and then eventually even those that at that time were solid closed to anything beyond the norm and the programmed perceptions of the system, they were going to start being affected as well, in terms of looking anew at self and the world. And that all came back to me massively at Wembley last Saturday, because the energy in that room and the impact that it had upon people, including myself, was just beyond words. It was extraordinary. I had a spare hour a few days ago, and I thought, I'll go on that Twitter and have a go and see what you do. So I went through that morning's headlines on davidicke.com, or some of them anyway, made a few comments and on what was happening in the news and what have you. And then I shut everything down and I got on with my day, got on with my life. Well, as the comedian Peter Kay said in one of his jokes, you'd have thought I'd have gone in their house on Christmas Day and pissed on their kids. Too many tweets. You've over-tweeted. Beg your pardon? Too many tweets. You mean there are rules on Twitter? I mean, if you think there's too many tweets from someone, well, don't bloody read them then. Go to the next one. There were loads of others being posted at the same time as I was doing my thing. Oh, no, too many tweets. And apparently what you're supposed to do is space them out through the day. Well, I don't want to be on Twitter endless times a day. I had a spare hour. This is what I've got to say. Okay, see you guys, all the best. But no, there are rules. There's got to be rules for everything. You can't have life without rules. Well, actually, you can have life without rules. What you can't have without rules is control. And we are drowning in bloody rules. Anyway, some of the responses were like extraordinary. I mean, the things that humans get their knickers in a bloody twist about. There's all these things going on in the world, all these things that need addressing, all these things that need focusing upon, that need challenging. And yet we get diverted and upset, or even, kind of furious about things that don't freaking matter. This is one response that kind of makes my point. This says, enough is enough. Okay, fair enough. After 20 years, you have lost a fan. 70 tweets already today is far too many tweets. Well, it wasn't 70, don't be silly. But let's think about that. After 20 years, you've now lost a fan. So, okay, for 20 years then, the person thought I was doing a decent job. Right? Yeah. Okay. And if they've been looking at what I'm doing for 20 years, it means that they must realize that there's some kind of conspiracy going on to enslave humanity on a scale and to an extent that was significantly understated by George Orwell. Right? Yeah. So you think that I've done a decent job for 20 years, and you realize that there is a conspiracy going on that has to be addressed urgently, but you're not supporting me anymore. Let's have it again because of what? Too many tweets. I mean, that for me is a form of madness. If you look at the definition of madness as the inability for balanced thought, the inability to put things, this is the word, into a perspective, then that's a form of madness. And it's the big penny that needs to drop to understand the world is that the world is mad. And I don't just say that as a throwaway term, a throwaway word. People often think of insanity and states of insanity as people in institutions and asylums. But the big penny is when you realize that human society is an asylum. It's a madhouse. And humanity provides the inmates. We're living in a lunatic asylum called planet Earth and humanity. And if you've got any kind of balanced mind, that's when you stand out, because the people in the asylum think you're crazy, because to them, madness is normal. It's their sanity. And so if you try to work out the world, if you try to understand the world, if you try to make sense of the world by treating it as some kind of sane place, trying to make sense of craziness while still believing the world is in some way sane, then you're never going to get it. You'll be on your deathbed, still trying to work it out, still trying to make sense of the world. And lots of people think, well, it must be me then. It ain't you. No. The world is mad. It's not you. You're the same one. And you start to realize, or you start to see with crystal clarity, what is happening in the world and why, when you realize that you're in a lunatic asylum, and therefore insanity is the norm. And the confirmation is that if what you say has validity, then eventually it will be shown to be so. And the trick is to say what you believe to be true, what you know to be true, and not keep it to yourself and stay silent. Because what will people think of me? What will they say about me? And if you're in any way in the public eye, what will them journalists say? Well, my response to that was, don't give a shit.